everybody. I may be jumping in here a little bit early, but gives me an extra minute to talk. So I guess I want to say hi. I've been absent for a few months from Past the Scope EDU, but I'm always meaning to join in, and I'm certainly listening to those who are on Past the Scope every month. Today looks like maybe I'm kicking it off. I don't know if anybody was on from 8 to 8:30, but so far I think it's me. And so here I am in Kuwait, and I'm talking about Edu Evolve. And as soon as I saw the topic, I thought I have to jump in this month because my word for 2019 is transitions, and I believe that as we evolve, we certainly do go through transitions. And if we don't, then we don't change. And I think a whole big part of evolving is to be able to learn and to be able to change. So what I'm talking about today is my own personal and then professional evolution. And hi, Michael, welcome. And the merging of the two, which is just lately, I guess. I don't know how many of you have experienced the merging of your personal and professional identities as you evolve, as you learn both personally about yourself and personally. Good morning. Well, for me it's afternoon, but good morning to you. I bet you're just getting your day started, Michael. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was my own personal evolution, which has been, thank you, Michael, which has been really a roller coaster for me. So I moved to Kuwait in 1984, and I became a learner. I learned about the culture, I learned the language, which is Arabic here, and I learned about the history of the region and the history of the country. And I didn't work when I first started, when I first came to Kuwait. Actually, the first 10 years I didn't work. I was very blessed and was able to spend time with my children, my 3 children, when they were younger. And so when I finally did start looking for work, I found a role as a 3rd grade teacher. And that was something new for me because my background was in finance. It was in banking. I had studied history as an undergraduate, but then I got my MBA thinking that I would either go into business or just stay in banking. And then this opportunity came up by accident in Kuwait for me to teach grade 3 at a new school. And I was really thrilled because I had spent a lot of time with my children, helping them, supporting them, finding out what they were doing at school. And I was really excited to be able to be a part of, to be an educator, to be a part of that. And through that journey, I found out a lot about myself because eventually, well, first of all, I had to learn all about ESL, something that I had never really been exposed to as a discipline. I had learned Arabic, and so I felt, and I also had learned Spanish when I was in school, so I knew about second language learning, but I certainly didn't know any of the pedagogy. I didn't know about second language acquisition. And so because I'm a nerd, I started reading the research, joined the ASCD and some other organizations, went back and got my ESL certification back in late 90s, early 2000s. And I learned so much that I was able to bring into the classroom because when I started working, I didn't have any idea about pedagogy, or I was basically teaching from what I felt was right. But obviously, you really need to have the background in the discipline. And then once I sort of went back and got my teaching certification in ESL, then I was bitten by the research bug, and I decided I wanted to complete my doctorate. In the meantime, I became an administrator, so I became a principal, and I was responsible for a staff of about 25 teachers, both Arabic teachers and English speakers. And so bringing those communities together, which is one of the things I've learned to do. And then completing my doctorate and concentrating on professional development, because I found that I had a knack for tapping people on the shoulder who didn't really see their potential, and having them then either be from assistant positions in the classroom go back to school and become teachers, or teachers to become teacher leaders, or teacher leaders to become principals. And so professional development became one of my passions. And along the way, being in Kuwait, early on, I as I said, I moved here in 1984, and then in 1990, my family and I were outside Kuwait. My children were 3, 5, and 3 months old at the time, and we found ourselves without a home. We ended up spending the rest of the time in Spain to be near other Kuwaiti families, and for a long time, for several months, we didn't even know if we were going to be able to come back to Kuwait, and we were lost. And it's only really recently that I thought of myself as a refugee at that time. I don't know whether we sort of pushed those things out of our memory, although it's like it happened yesterday, but perhaps because we had a place to live, we had food, we were able to enroll my sons in school and so forth. I don't know, for whatever the reason, I just recently found myself realizing that I was a refugee. And as part of the experience of being here, and we were so blessed to be able to come back home, and I've written about that in my blog, so I can post that link if any of you are interested in that whole journey. But in 2003, then we were involved in another war. I was principal at the time, and as part of my own evolution, I had to take care of the faculty. I lived in Kuwait, but most of our faculty were from outside of Kuwait. And they were very fearful about what might happen, and of course, they should be. And so there were many decisions that needed to be made, and decisions with not a lot of information, because nobody was really sure what was going to happen at that time. And so you find your inner strength. So my professional life helped me find my strength. I needed to be able to support those people who were here in Kuwait. I had actually 2 teachers who had just arrived from South Africa to replace or fill in for teachers who had left during the year, which happens sometimes in Kuwait. And if they left, they wouldn't be able to come back because of visa status. And so they ended up staying with me during the war, because we ended up staying here. And that was another life-building evolution in my personal journey, but also my professional journey, being responsible for people who weren't necessarily part of my family, but were part of my greater community. And then in the last few years, I've noticed that my personal evolution, how I've evolved personally, has begun to merge with my professional interests and the things that I learned while I was an educator. I recently retired, but I still consider myself a passionate educator, have stayed involved, and I do miss being in the classroom. But I am now really keen on helping support and mentor refugee teachers. And I've been able to do that online. I actually did it in Arabic with a group of refugee teachers for Syrian refugees through Plan International and the Care Institute in Egypt. And that was really, really amazing, because The teachers work in 7 different locations around the country. They're not all in the same place. And they weren't aware of how much knowledge they all had, each one of them had, in terms of pedagogy. So they were looking to us to sort of teach them about things, but we found out that they had so much to give each other and us because they were the people in the classrooms with the refugees, and they were the ones who understand and understood their students and were concerned about, so passionately concerned about their social emotional learning and the students being able to come to school consistently. And the teachers were really worried about the fact that they weren't doing their best. And what happened as a result of this, it was a pilot project actually, was to be able to help them see that they could form their own professional learning communities and be able to share their own expertise, which they didn't even realize or see that they had, and be able to help each other. It was a wonderful pilot, and we're hoping that it continues. In fact, we just got back together. There's going to be another a webinar based on it. But what I've learned is that now my personal my evolution or evolving personally has merged with my professional evolution over the years. And so my interests have merged. And I think part of the Edu Evolve is our identity. Who are we? And I think part of who we are is, as educators, is we are givers. We are here to serve, but serve in a way that brings people together, that helps our students understand the greater world. I'm so excited to be part of several PLNs that involve themselves with global collaboration and reaching out, because they're either in small communities or their students don't have the ability to be exposed to other students around the world or to learn about other cultures. I did a mystery Skype yesterday with a classroom in Ohio, and they were so excited to find out, first of all, discover where I was, and then to find out a little bit more about where I was. I'm always happy to share about Kuwait because not a lot is known about this region, except what you see in the news, and sometimes that's a little bit, upsetting or jarring. And there's so much to do with the culture and so forth, so I'm always really happy. But I'm really pleased to see that I'm also a facilitator for the Goals Project that Jen Williams and others are putting together, and so it's wonderful to see that there are over 1,500 classrooms and so many students around the world that are learning about the goals, and to see how this project has become so big over the last number of years. And I think that has to do with educators really evolving and saying, look, we want to teach the curriculum. We know we have to teach the curriculum, but apart from the curriculum and within the curriculum, we can also teach each other, we can teach about each other, and we can learn how we all can make the world a better place and make it more sustainable. And so, so my evolution has been, I really like this topic, and I want to thank everybody from, oh, that's so great, yes, Lakeshore teachers on the Goal Project team, wonderful. And I'm so glad that Past the Scope EDU decided on Edu Evolve as this month's topic. And when I first looked at it, I thought, oh gosh, I really want to participate, but what am I going to talk about? But I think our own evolution, our evolution as professionals, where we saw each other before and where we see each other evolving to, where we see ourselves and our identities growing as a result of the people we interact with, every day and over the years. And so, yeah, so I feel extremely blessed that I have such wonderful PLNs, and that through those PLNs and through Twitter and through social media, I have been able to grow my own personal and professional identities, and now they've merged. And as I retire, and of course, you know, retirement is just the next evolution into something else. I see that those are merging, and I'm really, really excited about the next steps. And so, yeah, my 15 minutes of fame is up, and I didn't see anybody who's coming up after me, but I know there are some educators who are stepping in later on, so definitely check the schedule and keep an eye on the hashtag PassTheScopeEDU for the rest of the day. And I wish you all a wonderful day and a wonderful month, and keep getting together. I think that's my biggest message. Evolve and get together. Take care.